to Bold Conscious Connections. My name is Raju Panjwani, and I'm a certified leadership coach.
And I'm Triccia Ramos, a certified high-performance coach. Together, we help business leaders redefine success on their terms to create more space and energy so that they live impactful lives.
Everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood. So at a deeper level, we know that the collective consciousness is important to raise in this world, and leaders who are influencers can make that difference. We, in our coaching programs, teach people how to focus on the interconnectedness, heart-centeredness, and growth from within. And this is what this podcast will be about.
So stay tuned and subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts.
Talk to you very soon. So today's topic is really about why we tend to say yes to things when we mean to say no. Why do we do that?
Such a great question. Something that I know I've been guilty of. Really, I don't think there's anybody listening to this that has never said yes when they really wanted to say no. And, you know, this conversation can really apply to any area of our lives.
You know, when think about the time that I really, particularly when we were working in a corporate environment, right? It's like the boss says yes, and you're doing it. The boss wants you to do certain things, and you want to say no deep down because you either don't have the time or the capacity, or you don't have the resources, and you always try to figure out what would make him or her happy. I've done that, my God, 20 plus years of my life.
Yeah, you know, for me, the thought came when I started thinking about all the promotions that I said yes to. And promotions, sure, comes with a lot of reward, usually, you know, an increase in your salary, a change in your benefits. It comes with perks. And we know that it always comes with more responsibility.
Correct.
So I would say, especially in the last, few years, I came from the retail industry, and certainly Amazon changed a lot of what, retail looks like. And so I experienced what it was like for jobs to shrink in the sense of the number of people that had these jobs.
You have to do more with less.
But we had to do more with less. And so I can't even tell you how many promotions I said yes to when I really knew deep down inside I should have said no. And it really amounted up to a lot of time.
Well, I was on Wall Street, so it was a little different probably than the retail industry. But, I remember in my 18 years with one firm to have gone through 3 different economic cycles, significant changes. So which resulted in the more senior you were, your compensation would be significantly volatile. So one year you made good money, the next year, based on whatever the environment was and the firm's performance was, it would be, slashed. So you were always working on the basis that you were counting on your bonus to live. Not on your salary you live on, but the bonus you live for. That was kind of the way we were incentivized. But back to the point about why it is we said yes to things, it was just because you lived in fear. You lived in incentives and fears and what would give me the reward. And the people that have sacrificed so much of their times, energies, their lives in, too much to the detriment of their own health, perhaps, right? Or relationships with their families, because there was this thing that they always said yes to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think why I said yes. It wasn't really because I was in fear. So I said yes because I was a people pleaser.
Oh, that's a good reason
I
too.
said yes because I didn't know how to say no. I said yes because these promotions meant that I was gaining status. Not only were the rewards and the benefits increasing, but now with each promotion, it meant that I was gaining status. Even though that would only last. How long does that last? That sense of pleasure that you get from that level of recognition. Because, for me, I already knew for a long time that I wanted to be doing something different. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so somehow with each increase in responsibility, I'm going to say now that I think I fooled myself into thinking that each increase in responsibility gave me more autonomy and control to perhaps use some of those entrepreneurial, tendencies that I wanted to. I wanted to be able to exercise. And sure, when I first started working for the company I worked for, the CEO was still the founder. So it's very different when you are the founder CEO versus someone who isn't, right? And over the course of 20 years that I was with the same company, I did see the transition. I was there, the beginning of 2000 when the internet really blew up and you can begin shopping online. And I was there when the housing market was booming. So I happened to be working in home furnishings. And so it was amazing to see, you can have internet business and still, because the housing market was booming, we didn't have to really do anything. We could just stand there and the customers were coming in. And I was there during the crash and, that recovery that was supposed to come in a year or two and how that just never really came. There was never really going to be a moment where things were going to go back to the way it was, because then here comes Amazon. And so it's so interesting because all of that people pleasing or justification of why I kept saying yes and thinking about, well, I'm here anyway. Why not? Why not take the opportunity since I'm here anyway? And really, what I was doing was distracting myself, in essence, from really pursuing my own dreams and visions, which really, let's be honest, why do people not pursue their dreams? It's because it's scary.
Not only that, I think part of it is, there are many reasons, obviously, but, fear was one, as I said earlier. You also feel safe, with your paycheck to paycheck. There is comfort in that. There is certainly predictability in that.
But after 2020, we now know there is no such thing. It's a false sense of
whatever
safety.
It is. The point is that, it is a false sense, but it is always was a false sense. And this just opened up a Pandora's box for us to strip us of all these situations. Like, oh, you live in this belief, you live in that belief. So, it's fear. It's the feeling of safety on the other side of that, or feeling, well, I don't have to be uncomfortable or go through pain of whatever your dream might be to pursue that, because that's not easy to do, because you're going to have to go through some discomfort of whatever it might be that you're pursuing. And every pursuit requires some element of, let's call it sacrifice or effort or something to really realize, right? So why don't people do more of that? I just think that I always like you wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was trying to do things that were entrepreneurial within a bigger company context. So you try fulfillment in that way, and you don't necessarily break rules, but you find ways to say, okay, well, what would make me feel autonomous and independent and free, alongside the ladders, as you were describing. So the highest ladder that I could climb, I got to the top rung, and then you just still go, what now? And there is still a lot of people pleasing. There is a lot of other, you're at that level jockeying for either attention in form of investment or equity, or starting a new business within the company, or growing a company, or expanding the region, all of those things. So you did all of those things, and you still deliver, and you still feel, oh, why do I keep saying yes? You have this next thing. Okay, sure. Promotions, sure. And all of that comes with the responsibility. And as you said, some nice totem, a label, a title, or perks and so on. But at what point do you call a spade a spade? meaning get in touch with you.
Well, and there were moments when I said yes because I genuinely loved who I was working with and for. So having the right leaders, if you're listening to this and you run an organization or you manage a group of people, you're a leader. This is really where having the right leader is so important, because if you have people with entrepreneurial mindsets within that kind of a structure, within that kind of an environment, and the leader knows how to lead somebody like that, that could be really powerful. And I did. Over the course of my 20 years, I had lots of leaders who were absolutely aware, I guess, of how I function best. And they definitely knew how to inspire me, how to motivate me, how to get the best out of me. And I delivered. And then there were also leaders I worked with who, they couldn't contain me within a box. I imagine I might have been really difficult to work with, or perhaps maybe not difficult because, I was definitely a performer, a high performer, always. However, if someone is not so, I guess, willing to be adventurous, right? Like if you're the type of leader who perhaps functions more like a manager, it's going to be a nightmare working with people who have that entrepreneurial mindset, because if you're listening to this and deep down inside you have this entrepreneur spirit within you, man, we just don't really like to be boxed in, do we?
Not at all. So, and then, usually the demise of that, the job or the pursuit of your own dreams then has to then come out of you, right? Because that entrepreneur inside is just literally looking to blossom or express itself when you start. And then you just say, you know what, I'll take the risk and just jump, get out of here and do it, not knowing, what the next step is going to look like.
And what you're really speaking about is our own evolution, our own growth.
Yes.
Because the thing is, it's not that things were bad from the beginning or good all the time. Yeah. It's just that situations change, and we all as individuals have an inherent desire to grow. Whether or not we allow ourselves is another story.
Right.
But we all have an inherent desire to grow and to expand. And I think great leaders recognize that in their people and are able to open up avenues and possibilities for people to grow with the company to a certain degree, I think, and then not so great leaders end up really doing a detriment because they don't know how to manage. I think a lot of us are taught to manage to the average. So what do you do with your top performers? Because really, that's amazing. If you can learn how to tap into, those individuals, how to really get them going so that they are energized within their work, inspired, and able to evolve. And I think, you and I had long tenures with companies because we did have multiple jobs. And the thing is, like, how much of that still goes on today, though? Because today there's really a lot of shrinking happening, and it just looks a little different. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, how does this relate to me today and where I am in my journey, think about that question. Yeah. How often are you saying yes? When you should be saying no, perhaps, because you're ready to say no.
Right. So very important discussion, really. I mean, we could go on and on about this because we've faced this music, even in entrepreneurship. There are a lot of times in fact, it's very dangerous to take on more things, look at the next shiny object, as we talk about, to say, oh, we could be doing this and we could be doing that. There could be a zillion things we could be doing. But the traction you have with whatever it is you're trying to pursue will come from sharp focus, right? So wherever your focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah, and that fear of missing out is real, and it's such a pitfall to distract ourselves. And part of this entrepreneurship journey is this misconception that you have to hustle, don't sleep, lose your health and your relationships along the way because it requires giving up everything. And that's just so outdated. The successful entrepreneurs that, we see are truly, not only are they making an impact in the business that they're in, but they make it a priority to be present for their families and to take care of their health because they know that doing so, saying no to things that don't really serve them is what allows them to stay focused on the impact that they're creating. So, saying no, learning how to say no as an entrepreneur is a skill that, it's a learned skill. Because
can it be learned?
I'm
still learning every day.
We're learning that. And I think that's so important because, entrepreneurs tend to, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this. And yeah, I mean, your success really depends on, many things. And one of them is your ability to say no to things.
Yeah. We all have the same time, 24 hours in a day. And, I love Richard Branson, for example, who's founded so many visionary, unbelievable companies. But, this idea of resting and sleeping and, and this is firsthand. I mean, God, I was so proud in my 20-year career there that, on Wall Street, that I slept 3 to 4 hours a day, and I was so, ready to go all the time because that's the culture you were, living in. That doesn't make it right, honestly, because you spend so much time doing that, and then you lose so many opportunities to be so sharp and focused because you're just working the hours and just burning both ends.
Yeah, I mean, there's been enough studies now to really show that our ability to pay attention to detail, to be creative, to solve problems, depends on our ability to rest and rejuvenate and reflect. And there's a great book you can read about that, Thrive, Arianna Huffington, where she really talks about the importance of sleep and, giving yourself pauses.
Yes, we love practicing pauses, although sometimes we don't think about them. So yeah, it is also saying no to all the distractions and all the things that are nice to do, but they don't serve you in your big dreams and your big objectives.
And I know today, right now, we focused a lot on what that looks like in a corporate setting. However, you might be listening and you've never worked a day in corporate, but maybe you're a busy mom. What are you saying yes to? Yeah. PTA responsibilities, volunteer work, or
homeschool.
I shouldn't say volunteer work, but we work with many clients, and it's a real struggle for people who already are committed. And it's really, this is kind of a universal thing where we are already overcommitted. And then somebody else calls and says, oh, we need you for this. And for some reason, out of obligation, we agree to it, even if we know deep down inside that it's, the one thing too many, or you're already swamped, but you can't quite say no. Maybe because something about that ask or that request is you've tied it to your identity of who you think you are. And like we said before, we all change, we all evolve. It's okay for you to have done something for a year or 2 or 5, and then to come to a point where you no longer want to do it.
And that goes to so many other things, right? In your relationships, not just jobs and careers that we've been talking about, but what are the obligations? Social obligations. I remember I always sort of let somebody else make the decision for my social calendar, and then it didn't serve me. It would have been important for me to say, can we limit our social engagements to maybe twice a week and not 7 days a week, sometimes 3 times a night. You're living as an expat in another country. It was very common to be invited to parties, and social gatherings which were obligatory, and supposedly it was tied to your business success. And it's just such a fallacy.
Yeah, we do. Think about that, right? The intention behind why we do what we do. And I think if we were more intentional, we would be able to access that proper no better. If we were more intentional versus, just reacting out of obligation or, fear or the people pleasing tendencies we all have that really strokes our egos, which we all have. If we were more intentional and got more present with why it is we do what we do, wow, I guarantee you everybody would all of a sudden free up their time and have more time to do the things that really matter, whether it's being present with their family or taking care of their health or just doing the things that light you up out of love with yourself, for others, rather than out of obligation.
Absolutely. I highly recommend. I'm suddenly losing the title of the book that Richard Branson wrote a couple of years ago. It speaks to this idea of, who you are being and are you living intentionally. As I said, I forget the name, but look it up. Richard Branson's book on living your life on your terms.
Awesome.
All right. Until next time. Signing off right here.
Take care and say no when you should say no.
You betcha. Bye now.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if so, make sure to subscribe, download, and share it with your sphere of influence.
We bring a variety of topics to you, and it's like a masterclass for those topics, and it's all free.
So take a screenshot, share it on your social media, and add the hashtag #BoldConsciousConnections so that we can find you, see you, maybe say hello.
And if you want to deep dive into some of the topics that we bring to you, find us at www.livemasterminds.com and get to know us.
Take care.